Firstly, from it receives camera image on every iteration and analyzes that image, analyzes what's going around. And we may have some other sensors like distance sensors, lidars, and so on. And based on all the sensors data, it's like trying to understand his environment position. Sometimes camera sensors, camera is not enough with our experiment, with our experience. So what we're doing to help robot to operate, to navigate in the room better is the image augmentation. We place in the grid of the angles, for example, on the top of our camera image to make a robot understand that, okay, he is, for example, 30 degrees, he is 50 degrees, and in order to turn to the kitchen, you need to turn the 45 degrees left and go forward. By the way, what we also mentioned, that robots very like to mismatch right and left.
That's interesting. I never thought about that being a difficult concept for a robot.
But
interesting.
This is the thing what we're doing, actually. It's part of our image augmentation.